The wind howls through the stone archway of Micklegate Bar, the southern gateway to the city of York. It is January 1461. The air is freezing, but the eyes of the citizens gathered below are fixed on something colder still. High above the gate, impaled on an iron spike, is a human head. The skin is grey, the jaw slack in the rictus of death. But it is not the decay that makes the crowd shiver. It is the object resting on the brow. A crown made of paper, a crude, twisted mockery of a king's diadem, dancing pathetically in the winter gale. This rotting trophy was once Richard Plantagenet, the Duke of York. Just weeks ago, he was the wealthiest, most powerful man in England, the man who held the future of the dynasty in the palm of his mailed glove. He was the heir apparent, the designated successor to the throne. Now, he is a garnish on a traitor's gate, a grotesque punchline to a joke written in blood. How does a man climb so high only to fall so far so fast? To understand the head on the spike, we must wind the clock back 3 months. It is October 1460. London is a tinderbox. Richard of York rides into the Palace of Westminster with trumpets blaring and swords drawn. He walks into the House of Lords, past the stunned peers of the realm, and lays his hand on the empty throne. He expects acclaim. He expects them to hail him King Richard III. Instead, he is met with a silence so thick it chokes the room. The lords are terrified. They are willing to let him rule, but they cannot bring themselves to depose the anointed king, Henry VI. The compromise they hammer out is called the Act of Accord. It is a piece of parchment that will doom thousands of men to die. It states that King Henry will keep his crown for life, but when he dies, the throne passes to Richard of York and his heirs. It is a total victory for York, or so he thinks, but in the eyes of a mother, it is a declaration of war. By signing this act, the government has just disinherited Prince Edward, the 7-year-old son of Queen Margaret of Anjou. And Margaret is not a woman who forgives. While York celebrates in London, the Queen travels north, rallying the great warlords of the Lancastrian affinity, the Percys, the Cliffords, the Beauforts. They are not interested in acts of parliament. They are interested in vengeance. By December, the reports reaching London are terrifying. The north is burning. The Lancastrian lords are ravaging York's own estates, slaughtering his tenants, burning his crops. They are baiting him, and Richard of York, a man of immense pride and rigid honour, takes the bait. On December 9th, he rides out of London to confront them. He takes his brother-in-law, the Earl of Salisbury, and his second son, the 17-year-old Edmund, Earl of Rutland. His army is dangerously small, perhaps only 5,000 or 6,000 men. He is moving fast, too fast, driven by a fatal overconfidence. He believes the name of York and the authority of the King's Commission will be enough to scatter a few northern rebels. The march is a misery. The winter of 1460 is one of the worst in living memory. The roads are quagmires of freezing mud. The wind cuts through plate armour like a knife. As they push through Nottinghamshire near Worksop, the Yorkist vanguard runs headlong into a Lancastrian ambush. It is a sharp, bloody skirmish, a warning shot. York brushes it aside, but he should have listened. On December 21st, the Yorkists finally reach the safety of Sandal Castle, overlooking the town of Wakefield. Sandal is a strong fortress, perched on a high sandstone ridge with a commanding view of the Calder Valley. But as the portcullis slams shut behind them, York realizes his mistake. The castle is too small. It cannot house 6,000 men. The soldiers are forced to camp in the bailey, exposed to the biting frost. Worse, the granaries are empty. They have marched into a stronghold with no food, and watching them from just 9 miles away at Pontefract Castle is the main Lancastrian army. The numbers are grim. York has perhaps 5,000 effective troops. The Lancastrians, commanded by the Duke of Somerset and the Earl of Northumberland, have at least 15,000, maybe 20. The smart military decision is obvious. Sit tight. Wait. York's eldest son, Edward, is raising an army in the Welsh marches. He is weeks away. All York has to do is lock the gates and starve. But the Lancastrians know Richard of York. They know he is a man who prides himself on his lineage and his martial prowess. They know he cannot bear to look weak, so they begin to toy with him. It is Christmas, a holy season where combat is traditionally forbidden. A truce is arranged to last until the Feast of the Epiphany on January 6th. York, a stickler for rules and protocol, believes the truce will hold. He believes his enemies are bound by the same code of chivalry that he is. He is wrong. The Lancastrians are not fighting a chivalric war, they are fighting to survive. Under the cover of the truce, they move their troops. They surround Sandal Castle, hiding thousands of men in the deep woods of the deer park that circles the hill. They are setting a kill box. December 30th, 1460. The morning breaks cold and grey. The ground is hard with frost. Inside Sandal, the hunger is biting. York orders a foraging party to go out. Then, he spots something. Down on the flat fields of Wakefield Green, below the castle walls, a small Lancastrian force appears. They look exposed, vulnerable. Or perhaps, as the chronicler Jean de Warren claims, he sees troops marching under the banner of the Ragged Staff, the emblem of his ally, Warwick. York thinks he is saved. He orders the gates opened. Whether it is hunger, pride, or a false flag that draws him out, the result is the same. Richard of York leads his army down into the bowl of the valley. He is marching into a meat grinder. The Yorkist column descends the slope. The moment they hit the flat ground, the trap is sprung. The vulnerable force holds its ground. And then a terrifying sound rolls from the tree line. Horns blow from the flanks. From the woods of Sandal Park, thousands of fresh Lancastrian soldiers pour out like water from a broken dam. The Earl of Wiltshire attacks from one side. Lord Clifford, the man they call the Butcher, attacks from the other. York is hit from the front, the left, and the right. The battlefield becomes a crush of bodies. There is no room to maneuver, no room to retreat. The Yorkists are pinned against the slope of their own castle, cut off from safety. The air fills with the wet thud of arrows hitting padded jacks and the metallic clang of poleaxes smashing into plate armor. The snow turns red. It is not a battle, it is a massacre. In the center of the melee, Richard of York fights for his life. He is unhorsed. He fights on foot, swinging his sword until his arms are heavy as lead. Some say he died fighting, overwhelmed by numbers. Others tell a more gruesome story. In this version, York is taken alive. The Lancastrians drag him to a large anthill on the edge of the field. They force him to sit on it, mocking him. "Look," they jeer, "the king on his throne." They weave a crown out of reeds and jam it onto his head. "Hail, king without a kingdom." And then they cut off his head. While York meets his end, his teenage son Edmund tries to flee across Wakefield Bridge. He is intercepted by Lord Clifford. Clifford looks at the terrified boy. "By God's blood," Clifford says, "thy father slew mine, and so will I do thee and all thy kin." He drives his dagger into the boy's chest, butchering him on the holy ground of the bridge. The sun sets on the slaughter. The Lancastrians boil the heads of York, his son, and the Earl of Salisbury, and carry them to York. On Micklegate Bar, they mount them on iron spikes. On the head of Richard, Duke of York, they place the paper crown. A sign is nailed beneath it. "Let York overlook the town of York." It is meant to be the ultimate victory, but it is a fatal mistake. When Edward York's eldest son hears of this, he does not sue for peace. He goes cold. The paper crown transforms a political dispute into a blood feud. 3 months later, at Towton, Edward will drown the Lancastrian cause in a river of blood. The Lancastrians beheaded the Duke, but in doing so, they created the king. The paper crown of Wakefield was the spark that burned the House of Lancaster to the ground. To witness the firestorm that followed, check out our video on the Battle of Towton next. And for more unvarnished history, please like and subscribe.